All right, big hey now there, Johnny. Welcome everybody to number 96, HEX T-Share Report. We're just going to go over some of the information we got going on out there right now. Just rest assured, a lot of things just aren't changing very fast, right? Not changing very fast at all. Mr. J. Soul, how are you? You guys let me know if the sound's okay. Music's too loud. Let's go take a look. Pulled up the old HEX daily stats. This is interesting. Just a high level review of current T-share rates. 41,603 to be exact, HEX on Ethereum, according to this last update. And 41,291 on PulseChain. And so you see that the numbers continue to just be out of sync. Of course, they're going to be based on different staking styles. Did see, I thought it was interesting to see that for HEX, we're looking at somewhere, at least according to what they track here, around 195 million in HEX between PulseChain and Ethereum in liquidity, and about the same in liquidity on HEX on PulseChain. 195.8 million according to this. We'll take a look at the primary pair on PulseChain, which is our HEX Pulse. Looks like a big ranging action, I mean, I'm not the TA guy per se, but looks like a higher low, right? Over this period of time. Maybe that means something. I don't know. All the way back down to September 24. Be nice to see another run up, potentially with price. This particular pool is $2 million USD, 2 million USD in liquidity with 300,000 today in volume over the last 24 hours. Pretty decent amount of volume, running again faster than Pulse is running itself. Take a look at the ratio real quick to Pulse just to see what this looks like. I'm not sure what that tells me. I do see that we had our top over here, which we had, I just drew kind of a line, maybe some levels from when we topped out back in 23 in terms of Pulse and how we had lost that. And there's something Access talks about periodically, where HEX had lost the battle, at least for a period of time, against Pulse. Bring it out a little bit further. You see, maybe it's trying to recover. So I'd like to see it get up above that 224 Pulse per HEX. That'd be pretty nice. In my tracked volume that I like to look at, which is just pairs I'm super interested in, got included into my data. I'm showing just about 11 million over the last 24 hours. At times, I've seen this dipping down all the way to 8. What I consider to be kind of like norm for our weird state of affairs is about 33 million. And so at any time, I'm expecting to see, some sort of a huge increase in the amount of volume on chain as people react. It feels like a coiling up. Of course, I know we're all a bit tired too, so you got a little bit of that going on. Just taking a look at the in order of volumes. These are APRs that I've calculated. But not unexpectedly, I guess, Pulse EDI, number one, 1.8 million in volume. That EDI, man, it is in demand on the chain. It is in demand on the chain, that's for sure. Right after that is WETH, WETH, wrapped Ethereum and Pulse at 856,000 on this particular pair. And then PulseX. So this is pretty much what I would expect to see. These types of tickers being the most heavily traded. Did notice the EBTC dropped down quite a bit. Still pretty good though. It's running pretty fast. I mean, it's got a speed of volume to liquidity of 0.56 over the day. and the people who are providing liquidity, even in a V2, you guys, I don't think everybody understands. Maybe you do understand. I don't know. Let me turn off the, this is really tiny for everybody to see, so I'll bring it up a little bit, but I'm going to turn off V1 for a moment and just look at the V2s. When we're looking at V2 positions, when people provide liquidity, all right, it's very normal for these to be near zero. Okay, and what I mean by that, by being normal, is there's a lot of stuff out there that just isn't that much demand, right? So when you start seeing things up in the double digits, that gets my attention, right? So we see things in double digits. I mean, somebody's doing something on the chain to create volume in one way, shape, or another. Now these are all V2 positions, so these aren't V3. Now we can scroll back up here to the top. The PEX dollar. Why is that running? I don't know. Maybe somebody's got a narrative. It's got a very low liquidity of around $2,000. So let's do this. We're going to put minimum liquidity at 10K and just see what that looks like. Give this a second to catch up. Okay. So Savant, which is part of the OG Web Chef ecosystem, printers right up there. Blacksmiths, Beast, Dominance, these are all things that are tied with that. We got some Atropa stuff that's up there that's pretty high. But again, can you imagine 45% APR if this was to last, day over day? 45% APR pulse to PDI. I misread that at first. I thought it was EDI. And then, but the EBTC, the ERAP BTC, 45% on that. So people could actually be coming in here and loading up on Pulse while it's cheap. Yeah, they have to worry about the impermanent loss and everything, but these are pretty high numbers, right? Pretty high. Versus I'm going to go to 1% as the minimum to show on the 0.01. I guess I'm going to have to do 0.01. Yeah, we'll do 1% on this list and go take a look. This is what it normally looks like for most of us who provide LP. You put something up, it's 1%, 2%. A lot of them, like I said, are even sub 1%, but I put that filter on it. But this is pretty much normal. You should be seeing tickers here that you might be interested in that are on there, right? And so again, when we start seeing things up in the double digits, I'm always wondering, what's going on, why people are. What's happening with those things. All right, let's go say hello to the chat. We already got 60 people sitting here listening to this. All right. Marvelous. Hello, Beach Whale. Tam, stay out of the betting game. Stay out of the betting. HEX Farmer. When we're up, we will moon. When we're up. And RH Max, and big shout out to RH. Hey Max, RH Max. I should just say the whole thing together. So he's got his conference coming up on Monday and Tuesday of this week. Check his Twitter. For all the times. I think that starts around noon Eastern time on both days. So some nice panels out there. People ask for more conference like content, and so I think there's like 40 speakers that are going to be on that. So you'll have an opportunity to do that. I'm going to go out there for a couple 15 minutes and bring up some HEX data, probably, maybe. Anyways, I'll be talking about the old HEX and doing all that. And then Matty Allen, who has been doing different conferences. Of course, we all know that, right? He has had one scheduled that he was thinking to do this month, but I think he pushed it off till next month with everything going on. So there'll be another opportunity for people to listen and participate. And I look at this stuff as abundance mentality, man. More is better if people want to participate. But of course, we all vote with our feet, whether we're whether it's watching or or participating. So thank you for putting that together. Let's go look at the 30-day look ahead. It's not looking much different, right, than than what we expected. And so let's see, this number here on Ethereum is 41.6. Let's see. All right, so we're dead on, right? 41.6 on PulseChain. Looking at the 41 PulseChain actual 41.286. Let's see. What do they have? 41.2. Okay, so mine might be out of date by a couple minutes because I'm running that data 3 or 4 times a day, and HEX daily stats should be updating immediately or on the regular. So taking a look at our charts here, the next 30 days. Well, that ain't 30 days. That's 5/17. Let's go out 30 days. We should be looking at something closer to 41,650 on the Ethereum and 41,340 on the whole PulseChain. So this is all kind of normal. You can see that the volatility and the changes has kind of been tempered by the fact that there's so much OA pressure now with the staking. We go out 60 days and take a look at the 60-day window. That's where I am thinking by the time we get out into July, we should be approaching 42 on both. We'll probably be in 42 on Ethereum, but then PulseChain will be catching up in the next 30 days. Well, maybe not. 90 days, we're still out there a little bit below. Well, let me change the date again. There we go. Yeah, we're going to be up at 42, over 42,000 by the time we get out to August on both chains. So it's just going to be a slow creep up and to the right as these stakes get ended and the T-Share Rate builds. Going out 160 days. I swear I pushed all these buttons already once. I'm sorry. I'm not sure why it came up that way. We'll be topping out around that 42. We'll have to wait probably till the end of August, going into September, to see a change above that. It's just because the stake hasn't been made yet. That will increase it. Remember, the new stakes are going to have a hard time increasing the T-Share rates for a while. And that's because they have not experienced the same type of rewards as older stakes that have been in system 3, 4, 5 years, right? So, and that's what leads us to looking at these kinds of numbers where, possibly by the end of 2025, I'm expecting that we'll be somewhere around 45,000 on both chains. And that is expected. And then as we move into 26, by the end of 26, I see another 4,000, then maybe another 4,000 or 5,000 going into the end of 27. Johnny had a thumb rule. Johnny Chaos had a thumb rule about how fast it's going up, but the increase in T-Share rate has halved. So it's about half of going up at a rate about half of what it was before. However, the amount of rewards people are getting, he didn't get cut in half. They got brought down quite a bit, right? So a little bit more than half. So anyways, we are going to see that widening gap where, again, for those who are listening that might be true believers in HEX, keep your staking ladder up would be my advice. Figure that out, how to keep it in place, because these numbers are still going to run the way they run. People are fading staking. It's just making more of an opportunity, I think, for stakers. And yeah, it could be very super extreme. Maybe this is how it is. Maybe this is how it is. People aren't going to be staking the way they were, and they're going to stake even less, which means that relatively I'll get even more. And then, as a staker, and then because I've gotten more and the price now can run higher because there's less inflation being paid out to regular holders, right? They always get most of that inflation. Yeah, it should tighten the market. Now, this might be 4 years out. That's the sad part, having to wait so long. But yeah, I mean, we start looking for 8 years from now, man, holy crap, things could be different. But I know we're all looking for when 1,000x, when 10,000x now. Looking at the drawdowns, right? I have to adjust this real quick. On the Ethereum side, we're seeing a drawdown about 60% of the T-shares, and PulseChain side 45%. What does that mean? In the PulseChain's case, if we had 100 T-shares ending, 45 of them are not getting created. All right, so that means we're only getting 55 in exchange for the 100. During these periods of time. And again, that just shows it's good. So it's like watching paint dry. But here's the thing: is in reality, when we were looking at just peoples and not away, it would appear like T-shares are like dropping like a rock. That's how it would look, but it's not looking that way. This way, but it is happening, and again, it just seems like believers are going to be rewarded, man. I don't know. I know, you never say, it's always going to be that way, but let's go out 30 days from today for this. So this may, roughly 30 days. So we'll do, let's say it's the 3rd. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 28 would be the 1st. So we'll go to June 2nd, sake of argument. Boom. Hey, it's smarter than I am. It already knew that's what I wanted to do. June 2nd. So over the next month, I'm expecting, well, probably, things could change. People can come in, people can emergency and stake and everything, but kind of like status quo, just kind of trying to predict what people are doing. Minus 128,000 more T-shares will disappear maybe on the Ethereum side, and maybe 95,000 on the PulseChain side. When we look at the counts, you can see our little count here and how it went way up over here, right? But now we're back into status quo again. Let's go to 3/20, 2025, right, which is right after the OA. And you see just slow drop on both chains. Not unexpected. This is how it works, right? So it just looks like they're slowly dropping away. But remember, many of these T-shares that are in here to kind of inflate the numbers and make it all look flat is the OA. The OA is in there. And see, OA's got a lot of T-shares. All right, let's look at the PEX T-shares real quick. See how this looks like when they're expiring. So I'm expecting on PEX in 2025 that another 791,000 T-shares will disappear and fall off during 25. But this counts all the ones that are open right now that are supposed to expire in 25. So some of those will be replaced, some of them won't be. I don't know what the net will end up being. But like I was showing you, we're seeing that almost 50% drawdown. And the amount of T-shares being created. So this curve is out there. We take out this big old stack real quick. I'm dropping here. You can see that, I took out the OA here. We still have kind of a little bit of depression areas in 27, 28, and then 21 to 34, but they've been filled in by the OA. And so now it kind of looks very organized, right? We get out to 35 and all of a sudden bloop, 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 down, because I took out that again, the OA stakes at the end, so it changed all this stuff. So we still have our towers, still quite a few T-shares out in 29, 30. Of course, that's on both chains. We could take a look at the Cuatro Cinco started. I'm going to drop February again off of this just so we can see the numbers in a different fashion. April outpaced March in like regular native, it's not just native, but just like regular grassroots staking, right, for Cuatro Cinco, by about 50% of an increase. So that's pretty good, in terms of T-shares. These are T-share counts, not stakes. And so in March we had around 1,000 T-shares created. Skip over to April here, 1,556. Right, so you can kind of see how these numbers went a little bit. So we got a little bit of bump. So what does that mean? I don't know yet. I mean, it might mean that people who are staking just said, "Hey, frick it, I'm going to go out Cuatro Cinco." Maybe they're using an actuator, and they're just like making HSIs and borrowing against them. That's a thing. Right, so that could be happening. But if we look at the stake starts and what's been happening with those, I should probably take Hopper's advice and put up a data table so I can see these a little bit better. But Let me exclude this guy for a moment. Because these are all the stakes activity, you know. In April, 140,000 T-shares of all, you know, all stakes, right? All types, and then a whole bunch that ended as well. So we did get quite a bit that you know, of activity, but you can see overall staking activity that was down, right? So probably some better ways. I guess check out Ben Sierra's stuff. He's got some better charts right now. I didn't really set this chart up for it, so I think doing the exclusions probably isn't great for the showing what I was showing here. But it's just I know that the OA made these thousands of stakes with all these T-shares, so I'm just trying to look that out. But again, what I'd tell you is what I'm seeing is the OA stepped in, stabilized. We're going to see the T-shares just come down over time, but it's elusive because it kind of looks like it's doing it slowly, and that's because the OA is so big now in there. But the peeps are going to be doing something else, right? Theirs coming down at a much sharper rate. And so again, you know, listen, it's DeFi crypto. You do what you want to do. You make your own decisions. It just kind of feels like another case where the opportunity is with the stakers. You know, that's how it feels to me. You know, reinforcing that behavior maybe. You know, a lot of people have a lot of theories about that, but I haven't run into anybody lately except for the diehards. They're like, oh yeah, I'm new and I really want to do hex stakes. You know, no, I'm not really hearing that from people. They're more like, why are you talking about this, right? Payouts are way down here around the 1.5 level. Again, as we like to say, it's always going to be rising. You know, well, we hope it'll always be rising, but you can't make very many more T-shares. I mean, people would just have to start taking their hex out of their wallets and stake, right? So they would just have to be doing that, and we're not seeing that. You know, so if we are going to see attrition while the supply goes up, attrition of T-shares, the payouts are just going to go up, you know, and bloop, 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 and we get out to 240. Maybe it's going to double again by then. Now, that doesn't mean that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, so I'm looking at data, you know, I'm looking just at data that's out there. What could happen, you know, is, you know, we end up in this situation where a whole bunch of people start emerging and staking because they love everybody and they're giving away their hex to me and you and anybody who staked. Then there's the another conspiracy theory that you know, the OA will start dropping. You know, and just start dropping his stakes down and create a little bit of flywheel of rewards to people. That could happen too. I don't know. I don't know that it would, but all right, let's look at Mr. Chat over here. All right, let's take a look. RH Mac says he votes with my buy button. Yes, push the button. Give it a double click for anybody who likes that. All right, how about glad to have a spitting fire as always. Yep, thanks, Max, man. Good to see you. All right, MJ Dub. Let me see if I can do it. Say, wait so long again. Don't think you put enough emphasis. Oh yeah, I don't know. You might be pulling my leg because I was emphasizing it, but I'll emphasize it. It's been so long, man. It's been so long. It's been a long couple of years, that's for sure. Pip Shinobi, nice to see you. Shout Fox, good to see you. Mr. Monkey, I'm glad we onboarded you to cigars. Nobody take offense to that, please. But happy weekend to all you Hexicans. I see the Tam. All right. And Tam says all her favorite family members are in there. All right. That's good. Let's go take a look at what else we got going on here. So we went going through our list. We took a look at the payout for T-shares. There's nothing really like dramatic or crazy happening over here. Open, says me. Open. There's another feature of HEX, right? Average stake length of open HEX stakes. Still up there at 9 years. But again, guys, remember, right? This is just open stakes. So it's all stakes that are open. It's a good indicator. Gives you an idea how much things are locked up, but you know, the longer stakes stay here, right? So of course it always looks like the the average is higher. It did, though. It did drop down quite a bit. I mean, it was dropping down. Like we got into, let's look at PulseChain. We got to right before they always started messing around here in February. We got to about 6 years, right? Back down to about 6 years or so, 6, 7. And we had been up at 7 years. So dropped down. It looked like it was going to fall through. And then now that the OA is staked and the stakes all count, it's up at 9 years. Plus, there's a lot of us still doing Quattrocencos, right? And, you know, so that's, you know, I still do Quattrocencos. And then your average stake length, just for all stakes being created, these are monthly, so I got April right here. It was at 2.87 years. Yurts. I better fix that typo. Anyways, it was 2.87 yurts for the PEX in green. And I see another typo. I got to fix that. But anyways, the green is PEX, so we had a little bump up. You know, it looked like it might be coming back a little bit, but that might just be the fact that people stopped rolling stakes as much as they were, right? Because remember, these are all stakes made, so whether they're open or closed, so we're counting all the shorties, so that could be part of it too. And then the EX 3.46 years, because again, there's probably less short staking happening over there. You know, probably. I'm not sure. A lot of this stuff is cool to go dig into. I'm not sure how useful the information is, but we got a you know, we got a squeeze going on. You know, a lot of T-shares, right? What, you know, but at the same time, they're getting scarce for regular users, right? So you got scarcity of T-shares growing for regular users. You have, you know, inflation distributed to regular users because of that getting scarce. You know, and we're in conjunction with that getting scarce. You have liquidity pools getting lower, you know, and HEX getting scarce. It's like, oh my God, man. Oh my God. You know, I think it's another thing. I was talking to Johnny Chaos earlier, and we were kind of kicking some stuff around, but anyways, he brought this up again, and you know, ratios are a real thing, right, in crypto, and HEX is connected to HEX and is connected to PulseChain, but it's also on the Ethereum side, and so it just makes you wonder, you know, just how much of a premium could be built on HEX. That should make Tam happy. Tam, you should be happy with that, right? Because man, it's quite possible we're going to see some weird ass stuff where a whole bunch of people are like, oh my God, I should have kept my HEX, or I should have got more when it's cheaper. I don't know. But in any case, both hexes are pretty rare. And what if all of us were like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go buy HEX, and you know, okay, we're not all. Maybe not everybody's going to buy $1 million. I mean, what is $1 million right now? Let's go look and see. I could probably do it in my head, but my brain hurts. Let's go to my chart. Where are you, chart? Let's go look. All right, so I go over here and look at price. I'm going to type in 1 million HEX. What does it come up? Yeah, you see where I live. I got 10,000 in there. Those are the kind of numbers I'm looking up. 10,000. So $1 million is 5K, right? So what would happen if a whole bunch of people started going and spending $500 and buying $500 worth of HEX? What if that happened? Not a bad. It's not, you know. Listen, it's not never financial advice. Can't give you that. But I mean, when markets are low, prices are low. Always appears to be the time to pick up cheap units. I can tell you, I bought more HEX this month than I thought I ever would, and you know, at this time. Mostly because I'm participating in converting some of my assets into HEX in order to participate in Actuator more fully, right? And that's because in the Actuator protocol, number one, I get the HEX and then swap it for these HTTs that they have over there, which are HEX time tokens, which are HEX in the future, and then put them in LP, 50, 50, 100%, whichever you want to say, but you got to match the sides with the dollar value. And so then I needed even more HEX for that. And so between the two, man, I probably did come close to $1 million this month, or last month anyways. But just trying to take advantage of that actuator and the 60-70% rewards over there by farming those LPs. So that's been pretty cool. All right, HEX mining hodler. Woo! Yeah, well, I got some venom, but I save it. He says, love that I never spit venom, but only stats effects. So, well, I do want to try to keep a lot of this stuff. When I'm doing my stuff like this, in particular these types of things, not the discussion pieces, I try to I'm very analytical, and I've also seen a lot of stuff, and so I try not to fall into the pit and start wrestling with everybody. But I got some vitriol in my head, man, and some venom, so I just choose not to let it out. Mostly. Yeah. See, J.A. Soul, mix. I don't know what the hell to call you anymore, man. I always get mixed up and with your name, anyways. Like for some reason, it hurts my brain to read your name. But Mixed Mix, aka J.A. Soul. This is another thing that Johnny was talking about. He's talked about a number of times on streams the last couple of years. Sorry, Johnny, if you're out there listening to hear this. And I tried to speak for you, but hey, he's saying, hey, Normers can't find PulseChain anyways. HEX is good. So I certainly experienced people could figure out how to get to PulseChain, but like a regular person, they need a guided tour, right? Like a handhold, like the whole way through. Because otherwise they ain't going to make the trip. And so that's very real. So you get so it's like definitely level 2, not level 1, right? And so the level 1 folks, man, yeah, HEX is available. Like, think about it this way: it's available on ETH. It's easy, relatively easy to get on ETH as compared to get all the way to PulseChain, get it. And I am hopeful we're going to get better technology tools available in the future that'll really make it different. And that would be freaking cool. That'd be freaking cool, right? But right now, it's just not the way it is. So, Occam's razor, right? If you want to use Occam's razor for this, but most likely scenario is I'm on ETH, and for some reason I'm interested in HEX. I want to get some HEX, and I'm just going to go through whatever my normal place is to get the HEX, and I'm going to swap what I normally have, which is ETH, and I'm going to get me some HEX and speculate, right? That's where the entry is, and clearly not going to be running for staking. So it would all be speculation on price. And what would bring that are green candles, right? All of a sudden, people start seeing, because we all forget, if you haven't seen it happen before, you haven't been through one of these runs with any of the coins. When you see week over week over week green candles, it gets insane, and people chase, right? So you only need a bit of that, probably good week or two of that kind of an up, and all of a sudden, people are going to be like, because they're going to chase. It's just like all the rest of us and what we do, right? So they're going to chase. They're going to be like, oh wow, this thing went up. You think it's got some more? Well, remember last time it went up 10,000x. So yeah, they'll chase it. I don't know if they'll all win. I don't know if they'll all come in early enough, because lots of times it's after the fact. But anyways, the point is that yeah, there's definitely some possibility. Yeah, that's a possibility. Congratulations, HEX Farmer. I had my first onboard in 3 years this week. Woo! Yeah, man. Mine don't speak with me this Jay. So yeah, there's a few people. Every week I just tell them it's still down. Like I definitely feel like that meme where I'm the teenager in the attic. Come down and tell us about your crypto token. Oh my God. Yeah. Loyal HEX. Can you talk about liquidity of HEX and EHEX and slippage, and how that can influence purchasing decisions and existing decision, or maybe existing somethings for some profit decisions? And thank you. Well, yeah, let's think about this. Let's break this down a little bit. Well, I already talked a little bit about the liquidity. Liquidity is fairly thin, right? And it really is up to the community, one way or another. It's up to the community to go buy, right? I mean, that's just how it is with crypto. I know we all want someone else with a big hand, with the big the Red Bull can to drop down the bucks, but people need to be buying. So however that's going to happen, people need to be swapping their value in with, could be rotation too, at some point rotation. I mean, I would probably seriously be thinking myself, with my ink, rotating it to HEX or EHEX, particularly if it does a run up, because I don't want to be stuck again with a very low ink. That's probably not a great example, but it's down to $1 again, right? So it's pretty cheap in itself. But so all of this slippage and everything, it affects my decisions. I guess as I think about it that way, I'm sure it affects yours too, because whenever I look, I see something that's more than 2%, my eyes kind of open up a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if I want that slippage, right? I know, guys. I know there's people doing a lot more than that. Willing to suck up the 10. Particularly with tax token stuff. Some of the new launches, doing the 10, 20, 30, 40% slippage. I've been there, but that's a lot of slippage. Right, and in squandering. But we go take a look. I'm just going to reset this real quick. Let's go to HEX pairs real quick and see what we got. There's a lot of, there are quite a few. There's quite a bit of HEX out there now. I'm going to reset my APR down to 0, so I'll see all the pairs. There's quite a bit of liquidity paired up in some way with HEX. Now, some of these are V3s. So I'm going to take, I got V2 ones. Let me go V1, V2. I'm even going to leave V3 out of it for a moment. So these are real high level. It doesn't include FUX at all. But there's a ton of pathways in here, to get out. Or through. I mean, it's 10 million in liquidity. You say, well, that's not real liquidity because some of the tokens, yeah, you're right about that. Some of the tokens, they're not to value. But this, I mean, at least for me, okay, I'm not slinging 200K, so it's not me, right? So other people, maybe they're able to do that, right? But we go look at I did Pulse here, so I have that up here. These are the pairs with Pulse. I'll put them in order with the EHEX first. So on the EHEX with Pulse between V1 and V2, it's about 415,000. So that's fairly light with the EHEX, right? And that's where the prices can really get out of whack with sustained buying of some type, or at least bigger buys. Because you'll experience a lot more slippage. You're trying to get into EHEX on PulseChain. Exactly what the situation looks like on Ethereum, I can't tell you at the moment, but I imagine it's a little bit better because there's more HEX out there, but I don't know exactly what it'll be. And then for the PX on PulseChain, there's a lot more liquidity. There's almost 3 million or over 3 million in liquidity for that. So I think that's plenty, right, to do whatever you want to do for most normal people. So, and to answer your question, when you're asking about, what the slippage could do, you guys tell me. Sometimes people don't even know about the slippage, don't even pay attention to it. And so maybe you have some of that. And I think, again, green candles probably beat that out. People will be like, I'm buying anyways, right? EHEX is going up because it's going to go up again, And so we could really see the EHEX really go high. And then, of course, there's going to be a cycle, guys. So Don't plan on staying at all-time highs. It's not how it works, right? And so it'll get up there, and then when it deflates, you'll probably see the HEX deflate faster. So it really depends on what your thesis is and what you think is going to happen long term, right? Because a lot of people, you know, if they're not staking, they're looking to try to cash in, right? So, yeah, yeah. Now we'll take a look at this. These pairs that are here. Let me pull out my pulse real quick and just look at this. What's our biggest paying hex pairs that are out there? The Icosa hex, which is relatively small to mid size, right? 17K. Last 24 hours, paying 26% on the V2. Let's see where we got HEX on Uniswap. Yeah, Uniswap is actually in operation. You know, it is here. People, you know, they're not here, but the software is. People use Uniswap all the time. That's running 16% HEX. And let's see where else we got. Another HEX on PulseChain. PulseX, HEX is just running 5%. So now this is another thing that's really weird to me. You know, why do we have such a high percentage on the Uniswap? Somebody might be doing V3 positions on the Uniswap, targeted V3s, and that could be driving that up. I know I have it matched for V2. I'm not sure that the information that I have that comes through can tell the difference between V3 and V2 on Uniswap. But that could be the situation why there's a higher APR. And then it just boggles my mind just how many people did migrate over there to use that. But if we go look at V3s, let's look at V3s real quick. Somebody was telling me they've been experiencing, like this right here. Look at this one. So this is a targeted pair. Now this is like level 2.5, level 3 crypto LP type stuff. I don't recommend people go jump in this per se, but probably even just getting into a very wide range on V3 pays pretty good. You know, HEX to HEX, and that's running about 44% today. Overall for this pool. You know, they're made up of many positions sometimes, and lots of people have different positions, different numbers, but this particular rate of speed is cooking, just like some of these other ones at 49% ratio for the day. Volume over LP, that's pretty heavy. So even with very low volume overall, like a third of the volume that I would expect, hexes are running pretty hard. Yeah, so if people are actually thinking about it, I would think that they might be more reluctant to pay the higher slippages, right? But I don't know that people care if they're chasing green candles, and I really think it's a green candle chase. You know, I mean, I'm interested in both the hexes, but you know, again, going back to what we were saying before, you know, if you're not ready to speculate, you don't believe it's happening yet. You know, who's going to be coming in and dropping, you know, a lot. And if you do believe, and you know, when you're trying to stake, you're going to be going kind of slower probably. And if you're chasing the green candles, you need it now. I need it right now. So I'm going to push the button. I don't know that the slippage will do that, but here's the other side of the token for you, right? That kind of behavior is what really does drive those APRs super high. All right, let me see if you let me know, LoyalX, if that covered some of the stuff you're interested in hearing about. I don't know. Try to put my thoughts together correctly. All right, what else? I don't know what Famous was right about, but he might have been right. I wasn't following. Yaveen, good to see you. All right. And Lewis is on board. Lewis Angel saying, juicy price for me. HEX is, it is pretty juicy. It is. These types of times where prices are really pulled back and everything, and, you know, the sentiment is the way it is, you know, I tend to forget this is crypto, right? And what does that mean? To me, that means that, you know, I can wake up and all of a sudden, you know, that $50 that was like no big deal to me is now 5,000, right? That's real, right? That does happen in crypto a lot, right? It may go back to $50 the day after, but you know, so we can suddenly see all these numbers go way super high, super high. Oh, HEX Farmer, you know, I haven't been even following directly the new ones out there. I'm sure there's probably some new ones. That you know, the number of wallets that came in and made all these stakes make it so hard now to figure out what's what. It kind of obfuscates the you know, who is actually the OA wallets and which ones are not. So I don't have a good read on that. I'm not sure anybody has the list, you know, and I'm not even sure even if I had a list, if it would be right at this point. But I am certain there's probably some new ones. But I also think we've been seeing them drop off. So before we wrap up here, I'm going to, let's see what I want to do. Yeah. We were looking at the old HEX chart here. That's what I was looking at. I'm talking about people getting more HEX because it's rare. All right, so Monday I'm going to do this presentation. I got to talk about HEX in 15 minutes, 15 minutes or less, and yeah, I think I'm going to focus on staking ladders. Right. I guess I could go full degen, go the other way, and say, hey, don't even forget about staking. You need to come into HEX because somebody's going to pump this bag, and when it pumps, you can cash out. Right. That would probably get more attention, but I think I'll focus the other way and talk about I think what I'll do is I'll talk about the use case for HEX, what the prescribed use case is. What is the product market fit? And currently, the product market fit is what it's always been, but you know, it's a crypto equivalent of certificates of deposit, and that compete directly with the treasury bonds, right? And CDs in general. You know, in the rewards and percentages being in HEX, you know, not in USD. USD is all gravy for any type of price appreciation above the current prices. And so I think that would be my focus and how I would talk about it. And then maybe a few mentions about all these different protocols that now are popping up that, you know, are allowing things like group staking, stake counts, you know, and a number of these other protocols, like borrowing against your HEX, right? And, you know, that's a whole nother thing, right? People probably fade the hell out of that right now, I would think, right? Because prices are down. But I mean, you don't even have to sell the HEX. You can borrow against the HEX. In an up market, that'd be pretty good. And then, of course, then the idea that I can come in and do Quattro-Cinco stakes, you know, and they're not even a ladder, right? They're all Quattro-Cincos, and go earn off the Quattro-Cinco stake in the actuator protocol, right? I could do that. You know, so there are a couple different angles, but I'll probably stay more native. Loyal X, and I doubt you're a simpleton. That wouldn't be possible if you're here listening to this. Oh, yeah, you were asking about the EHEX. I wasn't sure if there would be much liquidity to exit for a little profit. Yeah. You know, I prefer, of course, my strategies are different too. I prefer with the EHEX that, you know, well, actually HEX in general, I prefer putting this stuff to work, right? Putting it to work. And with price appreciation, that looks a lot different than it is today, you know, 100x higher. But you know, if I can put my HEX to work and earn $5 a day, At 100x, it's $500 a day. And now I don't even have to necessarily sell the X, right? I mean, I just hold on to it and get ready for the next round. You know, so it'd be pretty good that way. Yeah, 2040 party. Well, what did Max's, the name of his thing is 2055, right? 2055. You do that. 2040 would be a good year. I guarantee most HSIs will be sold prior to maturity. Maybe. Maybe. That would presume, though, there's going to be a market for HSIs themselves, other than actuator. Because right now, I wouldn't, unless I had some bigger plan, like, and I was like some sort of a whale with HSIs and ICOSA, I wouldn't be selling my HSIs for ICOSA, not in the current state. But that could all change. You know, that could all change pretty quickly. Oh yeah, and then HEX Farmer's answering your question about if there isn't exit liquidity, use Flex protocol and then borrow safely. I think that, yeah, that's an option too for the PHEX. For the EHEX, you know, we're always subject. All tokens are subject to liquidity, right? And there is pretty good liquidity rate at the moment. But you know, yeah, that's going to be a concern. But you know, you can earn pretty good on the EHEX HEX. And there's pools. I don't have it ready to show you, but there are pools over on the Flex protocol, which is a fork, a balancer that pays some pretty good APR in a different token, and you can get that. And you know, you could be LPing it, and you know, limit how much you need to sell. But yeah, I think you're just like a general observation about trying to exit. Yeah, you do have to plan this stuff out, right? I mean, everybody is like, I should say everybody's not really true. That's everybody. Quite a few people will tell me that they're going to sell the top, but you know, selling the top is hard. First, you got to know when it is, right? And if I got real value in pools, and I think people are turning on me, I don't know that my strategy is leave my pool up. And so then you have people pulling liquidity down, and then that creates even more slippage, yada yada yada. So it's a race to the door at the, you know, when the music stops. I prefer to be kind of like on the other end. I'm not saying go sell all my crypto now, but I mean just like a different plan, a longer term plan, like how to take profit over time, and try to do it that way. So yeah, so I'm sorry about that. I probably don't have a great answer for you about how to get out, Mr. Loyal or Mrs. Loyal X, Mr. or Mrs. But yeah, that would be a potential concern. But even so, that's been a concern for me. So I've been using my EHEX on PulseChain, bridge it over. You know, again, that's probably level 2, not level 1, but you know, bridge it over and add the liquidity into the PulseChain side. Yeah, Loyal X DCA in and out. Yep. There's that. Plus, there's new tools, right, coming. So you got and I don't know how experienced you are with our ecosystem, with the PulseChain ecosystem, but there are tools out there. Like you can use the V3s, right? V3 liquidity on both 9-inch and 9mm. Don't think I've done Uniswap, so I can't really say if it's working or not. But those two do work. I have used those, and that can be something you could do to set up, you know, a long path to cash out. You also have the new LPX protocol, Liquidity Providing X, which is from the Validator X guys up on UpX. You might not know who those guys are, but they're you know, they're rolling out a protocol that's a market making protocol, and you get to set the settings on it, and so you could actually set that up to take profit over time. It hasn't been released yet. It's supposed to be released in the next month. It's been a little slow getting that software done. They're working on it. That's coming. The 0x Coast guys who do the onboarding here, they have their onboarding site, and they work with Old Glory Bank. They have a protocol that they're forking, which is Balancer v3. So if I'm not mistaken, fucks, that the core of that is Balancer v2. And so 0x Coast guys are going to come out with Balancer v3. That's another one of these things you can, if you do some research on that one. Again, this is level 3 stuff. This is like real detail. Like, you got to understand what the hell you're doing. But so it's not going to be like for the average person. But that's another thing where you could set up trading, on that automated trading, and have it automatically trade you out of position. And that is super cool. That's super cool, right? And I don't know the details enough to really explain it to you yet, but it's basically, you can do things like moving dynamic ratios, for your positions to kind of emulate V3s without setting up new positions, that type of stuff. And anyways, it'll be pretty cool. Most of us will be like, wow. All right, what else we got going on here in chat before we close out? Oh yeah, HEX Farmer. I forgot you're in there. We're talking about LPX all the time. You're in that chat. You gotta put 2 and 2 together a lot. I know I've talked to you on DM too. So, but yeah. I mean, the LPX is something it's going to be able to do, and that'll be pretty good. Yeah. And NJ Dub saying you got to take into account other free coins you might get for staking. So like in the case of Actuator, you get these Actuator tokens, and they could be worth a lot later. Anywhere else you farm, and do these different things, you might be able to earn tokens. So, the homie farms are out there. 9inch pulled back on a lot of their farms. I don't know if they're doing more or what. I haven't really heard much from them. I see a Wild SJ. She is here. My cigar smoking friend. Right there. I'm going to light one up here in a minute. All right. And let's see. SJ is saying 0x Coast is the bee's knees. Yes. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're pretty cool. Well, I do like them. I just had an interaction because I thought I totally screwed myself on something, and their customer service is top notch. Yeah, I agree. Now, for anybody who's looking for service from them, you actually go to their website and talk with secure links. Normally, for most questions, particularly your account questions, in this way, you're logged in directly there. You don't have an opportunity to get scammed away. Belgian Mexican, good to see you. Good to see you. All right. And I don't know what V5 is, but what you're referring to, J.A. Soul. But yeah. All right, friends. Well, I was going to do a half an hour. I've been just talking to you guys in chat for the last half an hour. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. HEX T-Share Rate's going up into the right. Who would have figured? Who would have figured? And yeah. And so I think people who are willing want to get in early on speculation. Now's the time. Now is the time. All right. Well, with that, we'll do a big hey now and stay crispy, and we will see you on the next one. I'm going to be back with some streams. I keep saying that, but I got about 10 different streams I want to do. So we'll get those. I think I'm going to start doing Sami style, 10-minute, 15-minute streams on specific ideas. So I can kind of dig into each one of them and kind of spread those along. And you guys are, just for information purposes, free to do whatever you want to do, All right. Have a great rest of the weekend and happy Cinco de Mayo.